Like, you can be honest and withhold information, right? Like, you
Sure.
can be direct and honest, but still withhold.
I think it comes down to intent, right?
Yeah.
Like, when I'm communicating with somebody, I want them to understand where I'm coming from. And if I'm being deceitful about that, then I'm not being transparent.
So you always try to give the full context, whether it's in your own personal benefit or not.
Yeah, as much context is required, I think, to get the point across.
Yeah. Well, and I find it so, because I wrestle with that myself, especially.
Yeah.
I'm in a sales. My day job is as a realtor.
Sure.
As a realtor, now I got to say, a realtor at Berkshire Hathaway Home Services Premier Properties. I said it. Now I don't have to say it the rest of the show.
Yeah.
I'm legally required to give that transparency.
Right.
That's forced upon me, though. I don't think it's relevant, so I want to disclose it, but it's forced upon me. And I've had to learn as a salesperson to say less. And so, like, where do you find the line between saying, well, I'm an honest and direct person, which I feel I am.
Sure.
But I don't know that I would describe everything I do as fully because I'm trying to, like, thread the needle. Where's the difference between honesty and
so honestly, if you're trying to thread a needle on something, you're probably not being transparent about it.
Sure.
So I run into this all the time when like at work on an everyday basis, right?
Okay.
So I run into this a lot where it's like, well, the answer to that is really complicated, and it's like, well, then just explain it to me. Just tell me what it is. Right? But if you've got to dance around it, then you're holding something back. You're not being transparent about it. And that's the opposite of what I try to do. I try to explain things in such a way that I'm not struggling to explain it because I'm trying to hold back. If I'm struggling to explain something, it's because I'm trying to choose the most effective way to get that understanding between us.
Yeah, get something complicated across, which is difficult.
Right, exactly.
Not everything can be.
And transparency, I think, is the way to do that, so that the other person knows or gets the feeling that you're being honest and direct and trying your best to communicate with them and give them all of the information. So you win friends quicker with some transparency than trying to dance around things.
Welcome to the show, where we explore the who, what, when, how, and why of the extraordinary people who define our north of normal metro. I'm Conrad Fargo, and this is the Fargo Five. Today we have Aaron Dorval, who is a musician and business analyst. I believe the name of your band is Chaos in Question.
And my old band is Chaos in Question. My current band is Save Me CJ.
Save Me CJ, okay. Yeah. And then you're a business analyst.
Correct.
Did you want to disclose where you analyze business for?
Well, I can't open the cold show with transparency and then not disclose something, right?
See, I'm not a transparent person. I would say that I am not transparent.
Yeah, I currently consult in call centers all over the world. So I have tons of clients, but I work directly for Humana currently.
For Humana, okay.
Yeah.
But you consult all over the world, but you work only for that one vendor, and they kind of ship you out.
Yeah. Currently, I'm just working for them right now.
Okay,
that's what I've been doing for like 3 years for them.
I'm personally interested in that aspect of your life.
Yeah.
The show is all about you. It's supposed to be about you, but I'm going to talk about me just a little bit, and that I am kind of jealous from what I've heard. I'm kind of jealous. I feel. I didn't really always go down the right way, and there's a lot of opportunities missed in this world. So what you have is probably close to my dream life.
Wow. Okay. All right.
Yes, actually. And so I'm very curious as to what it is that you're doing.
That's so funny.
So that I can paint that picture and understand those moving parts.
Yeah, that's so funny because when I was coming here today, I was like, man, Conrad's got this radio show. Like, I wonder how I get a radio show. Grass is always greener, folks.
Yeah, the grass is always greener.
Yeah,
as somebody who hasn't had a job for now 15 years.
Nice.
I mean, right? Like, nice. I always wonder, should I come in from the cold? Because it would be nice to have somebody else tell me where I'm going and what I'm doing and guarantee me a paycheck.
Yeah.
Which would really, really be nice.
Yeah, the guaranteed paycheck is nice.
Yes,
yeah,
and I haven't had one for 15 years. Yeah. So along those lines, why don't you tell me what it's like to have a job and to have a job where they're at? Like, what's your day-to-day Like you're working 40 hours, right? Like,
yeah. Well, if I can, I'm working 40 hours and not more.
Sometimes more.
Yeah. So my job is really strange in that I'm looking for ways to improve our business, right? Just like if you, as a business owner, you're always looking for things, and I get your readouts of like your data of like market data, right? I get that kind of thing from you all the time, and my job is a little like that, but for someone else's business, right? So I'm looking for ways that we can improve on process, we can improve on customer satisfaction, we can improve on execution of process, not just is the process good, right? All of those types of things. And so my day-to-day is effectively I lead a team of analysts, and what we do is we monitor for all of those kind of key performance metrics, and we look for gaps in execution as well as gaps in process itself.
KPMs, KPIs, all that delicious stuff. Do you have an MBA, or how do you?
I do not.
Okay.
So I have a crazy life story when it comes to this kind of thing. I have no formal education, like as far as college is concerned. Like
now, I'm going to get even more jealous. But we will get there.
Yeah. No, it turns out that curiosity is more important than like formal structure. So, for at least it was in my life.
Yeah.
So it's just something that I've always been interested in, and have worked on those types of skills. So, like I'm through like other programs like Six Sigma. You've heard that probably, which is like kind of process control.
Yeah.
A lot of that type of thing. Lean and like Agile certifications.
These are certifications you went out and got on your own.
Yeah, exactly. I went and studied on my own and kind of got there.
I want to talk all about that.
Yeah.
But because I really am, if you don't mind, I mean, we can talk about your band. I'm sure you'd rather promote your band, but I'm personally, if you're okay with that.
I'm good with it. I'm good with it, man. If I wasn't interested, then I wouldn't have pursued that outside of like, you know.
Okay. So I pick up what you're putting down as far as like what it is that you're doing for people, but how do they get handed to you? You're not going out and prospecting yourself, right? So somebody else has already secured the contract for you.
So let me tell you how I kind of landed here over 25 years.
Okay.
The short story, if you will.
Yeah.
The short story is I was just a call center agent, and I got a job at a call center until my band made it. My mom actually talked me into it like way back in the day. I was like 17 years old, and she's like, why don't you just get a job for now, you know? And it turned out I was just really good at it. But one of the things that I was curious about was, well, how am I being tracked and monitored, and what's my performance like, and all that kind of thing? And then how does all of that stuff work, right? And so what I ended up doing naturally is I kind of broke down the call types that were coming in, and I wrote myself a script on what I need to do and what commands I need to utilize through our systems in order to get to the thing that I need to get people off the phone and like get what they need and like all that kind of thing, right?
So we've got a full hour.
Yeah.
I like to get the details.
All right.
Because
so
I want to get the picture. Like, so you say call center.
Yeah. So I used to do corporate travel. I'm a certified travel agent from back in the day, a job that doesn't exist anymore, right?
I think I've met a couple out there who are still doing it. Still doing travel agencies.
But so I started out on the very first travel website. Well, technically, I started out as a corporate travel agent for like Oracle Travel.
And this is like the job your mom sent you on.
Yeah. So started out as a travel agent. And so we had clients like Oracle and McDonald's and things like that. And I started with an account called biztravel.com. So that's a Googleable thing. They are out of business now, but they were the first business travel website ever. And there were only a handful of us that were servicing that account. And from there, I learned how to do literally everything in the travel industry top to bottom. Like, people have flown on actual planes with my handwritten tickets that I mailed them.
Wow.
You know, which is a crazy thought in 2026, right?
Which call center was this in town here?
No, this was out in Dickinson. I'm actually from Western North Dakota.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it was a company that doesn't exist anymore called Rosenbluth International that used to do.
And your band was out there with you at that time?
Yeah, one of them. Yeah, I've been in a lot of bands over the years.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's what it's like when you have a band. You guys kind of move around.
Yeah.
What was the name of the band back then?
Oh boy, that was a project called Sixel Sid, which is dyslexic backwards.
Oh, nice.
We were very clever at 17 years old. But yeah, so what I found was these calls were coming in, and we had to work like ticketing queues and things like that. So a call would come in, somebody would book a flight that would be in our mainframe in our system, which is just like a green screen text, kind of thing. And we would book out all that flight information for them, but then it had to be ticketed or accepted by the airline and all that stuff, right? So we had to run through these ticketed. We get thousands of these things in a queue, and we were looking through them one at a time, making sure everything was right, kind of QCing the reservation is what we called it, and then we would ticket it, which would then signal to the printer to ticket the actual print the actual ticket, and we FedEx package and mail them, right?
So things were being done manually.
Full service, right?
Yeah.
Everything is done manually. And what I realized is when I was going through that ticketing queue, it would take forever because we would pull up this screen, pull up this screen, pull up this screen. So what I realized internally is it's called the Global Distribution System. So GDS is what we called it, and that's the kind of the mainframe that airlines use. They still use it today in the back end. So United uses like Apollo. American uses Sabre, and they're all like homegrown things. We mostly used Apollo. Apollo has 4 screens on it. Just divide the main screen into 4 groups, if you will, right? Mm-hmm. And I thought, well, I'm definitely not using all 4 of these to the best of their ability. And it also allows you 10 programmable keys that can issue. They're one and done, right? You hit the button, it does a thing, and that's it. So what I realized is I could use those 10 programmable keys to like set up workflows. And so when I was working through these queues, I go, oh, well, this is seat assignments. That's function 5.
So nobody else was using hotkeys.
Nobody was doing that.
You were the only one using software that way.
This was in 2000.
Yeah.
Nobody was doing it, right?
Okay.
And so I just wrote all of that out. Now, a funny thing happened. I could bust through thousands of these things in like a couple hours, whereas it was normally taking us an entire 8-hour shift to do it. And I was on the night shift where we had to clean up the entire queues, right?
Yeah.
So I was working through all of those, and then there was just me and one other person in the account or in the call center at the time. And they reported me to a supervisor for not doing anything because most of my shift I was just sitting there waiting for calls to come in, and we'd get like 4 calls overnight. Yeah. Right?
Because your work was done. You were getting all the work done.
Yeah, it's all done.
Yep.
And so I actually got disciplined. I got written up for not doing enough work. Yeah. And I said, well, hold on, like, how is that possible? Let me show you what I'm doing.
Yeah, the actual work I'm getting done is more than everyone else.
And so I just sat down. Nobody even asked me any questions. They like just went straight to like discipline, right? Yeah. As I'm 17, just a kid who's probably screwing off, right? And so I sat down and said, well, let me show you what I'm doing here. And I was just pounding through these things, all of them 100% QA done kind of thing. And she went, could you show everybody else how to do that?
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah. Did. Then it was, hey, we've got this other thing that takes a long time. Could you automate that? And so I just sat down and learned to put together processes and optimize these things with some of the tools that we're having. And that kind of just slowly grew my skill set into other things, right? Like, oh,
so how long
do a
were
script here. You can do that.
How long were you there?
15 years.
Oh, you at that same one place in Dickinson?
Yeah, just different. So I was in Dickinson for until 2005-ish. Okay. So I was there for like 3 or 4 years, and then the company got sold. It got split into different things. And then it got sold, and I got married, and we moved to Fargo. Yeah. And got a job with the half of the company that was sold to a company in Fargo.
So at this time, you'd been there 4 years?
Yep, 4 years.
They had moved you up. Like, so you were their automation department manager?
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. Yeah, single department, or single person department kind of thing.
Wow.
Yeah, so I was just doing processes. And then from there I learned how to do, there's got to be tools out here. So I went and searched for, how do big companies do this kind of thing, right? Yeah. And so I found Microsoft Visio, for instance, like process mapping, and learned how to do that. Then I learned how to do like some programming and things like that. And I went and sought that out because it was fun and it was interesting and it was something that I turned out I was really good at.
Yeah.
And then my goal was to make my job as easy as possible so I didn't have to do anything.
Yeah.
So I automated myself out of a job.
Yeah.
And they just kept promoting me
Yes.
to, well, if you did that, could you do this? If you did that, could you do that? And it just turned out to be like, then I became like the reporting guy for a call center of 50,000 employees, you know?
Wow.
And it was just like, all I want in life is just to get that paycheck, as easy as possible.
Yeah.
And the problems just get more complicated is the thing. So fast forward now through, so I was on a consulting team and we consulted with, I think I was in 5 of the Fortune 15 companies consulting in their call centers at one point. And then I ended up working for United Healthcare and doing a ton of internal automation for them. The world's first back office work router I invented. I have a patent on that. I invented that for them. And then I got a call one day from one of my old teammates who was working for Humana and said, "Hey, I could really use you over here. What's it going to take to get me over there?" So I was recruited over to Humana to set up like a reporting team and do some.
And how long ago was that?
4 years last week.
4 years last week.
Yeah.
Oh, I've known you for a while.
Yeah.
You're one of the. You knew me in my previous. I think you knew me before I was even in real estate.
Yeah.
Through Wayne. Right?
Yep.
Wayne and Cheryl. Yeah. Many such great connections.
Yeah. You know me from like my nerddom, if you will. Yeah.
Did we ever play Dungeons and Dragons together?
I don't think we ever played together, but I have played a lot of D&D.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
As many analyst types do, right?
Yeah.
So
D&D is just fantasy football for nerds, right? You
yeah.
know? Or the other way around.
If you play it right, yeah. Yeah, if you play it right.
Yeah.
I've always said, like, there's people who role play, then there's the filthy power gamers who want to just, like, read it, understand it, like, oh, I'm going to make the perfect character.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Did you play Baldur's Gate? Obviously, when
I haven't played Baldur's Gate 3, but I played the original Baldur's Gate 1 and 2 back in the day.
No time for it, huh?
Yeah,
With all the
I
work?
don't play a lot of video games these days, which is something that honestly it's a recent development to not play as many video games as I do. But I've got stuff to do now, you know?
Yeah, well, I mean, we're all busy. You gotta force yourself to find that downtime. But I suppose for that you have the band.
Right, exactly.
You love,
exactly.
Yeah, so where does the band fit in all this? Because you were doing the job on the side until you made it.
Yeah, I'm still trying to make it.
Okay. I mean, are you? I mean, paint that for, what's that like leading that? Because you're clearly having a lot of success in the, because for 15 years you worked for that corporation?
Yeah, I'm on year 25 now. So yeah. But I worked for that same one for 15 years before I went to United, and then worked for them for a while. I don't even know. And then whatever that math works out to be.
Yeah.
And then over to Humana, yeah. But I've been in that same kind of role. I always seem to fall into that role, no matter what I'm doing, is this like process analyst kind of thing. And it's a needed thing because a lot of people, what I'm realizing is people don't think the same way that I do. One of my leaders, one of my coworkers, I should say, he said one time, he goes, "I appreciate the way that your mind is like very clockwork in the sense of like this gear does this thing and that hits this thing and this gear moves this way."
Very systems minded.
Yeah, exactly. And so I've been really fortunate to be able to produce some really cool things and then be surrounded by people who have seen that aspect of it and say, "Ooh, I have that too. I need that. I have that need," right? And so what I'm finding is a lot of people don't think of it in that same way of everything is kind of a system of steps.
Yeah.
And when you're trying to measure your success of something, you've got to think about, like, I think of metrics as toll booths around on the road of the process, right? So you can only measure what came before that toll booth. So where you put those on the road will indicate what population or whatever you're measuring, that's your limitation of what you can measure, right? And what a lot of people don't think about is the how do I isolate the thing I'm trying to impact? How do I then act against that problem and then measure the success afterwards? And that's really what I specialize in, and that's what my team does.
Are you big on goal planning?
I hate all of this. Like goal planning, all of the administrative stuff, I loathe it. I'm a creative guy, so like it sounds kind of weird to say, but I'm not a type A personality. I'm not that guy. I don't like 4-blockers and updates to people. I hate all of that stuff. It's just, to me, that is not interesting at all. What's interesting to me is how does this thing impact reality of your business? And then how do we measure that thing? And it's the puzzle that I like to solve. And that's the creative portion of it. All of the administrative stuff, like, oh, we got to plan these goals and this is what we're trying to achieve and like all that stuff. I hate all of that, but I have to do it. That's part of the
They
job.
force you to because it's it's corporate.
Yeah, it's corporate, right?
Yeah,
like
and corporate stuff is designed.
Yeah, if I can, I'll get a project manager and be like, you do all of that stuff. I'll solve all the puzzles. You know? Yeah.
So what I'm seeing as part of your story here is that you're able to leverage these larger organizations.
Yeah.
I don't know that in a smaller company or a more single man or even a 10-man operation that you'd be able to find.
You'd be surprised. So there's a lot of that actually. So I'm doing some side consulting for a guitar company out of Dallas, Texas, and he's pretty much a 2-man shop right now. And what I'm doing for him is doing a lot of the like that metric measurement, right? And for a small business, what you need is somebody who understands like how do we isolate revenues? How do we understand if like our marketing really worked? How do we understand all of those types of things? How do we measure, like he's got a product, for instance, that he's got a product line that some of his guitars are manufactured in overseas, and then he gets them in and inspects them and whatnot. There's no idea how to quantify that. How do I quantify the labor that goes into that? Well, okay, you got to take into consideration your shipping costs, and then what's your time worth in your shop inspecting, and then shipping out to customers, like all of that kind of thing. No idea how to quantify that. So where I can help a small business is just through the education and equipping them with the tools on how to think about what the real cost of these things are, and then how do we manage those things or reduce those costs.
Well, so kind of more the goal of the show. So, I mean, we're kind of covering the what. So that's the what you do for that small business. My comment was more along the lines of the how you would come to be doing that for a small business.
Yeah.
And I think had you never had the opportunity to leverage the larger companies where they could, where they would have that playground,
right,
where you could say, no, look, I make this slight move here. All the people do it that way. And now look at this efficiency. And then I make this slight move here. When you have a smaller operation that you're doing that for. So, for example, this 10-man company, I wonder if he can afford you, right? Like, I wonder, because he gets handed to you, right? You're going to go out and do to go get him,
right?
Right. So your whole operation, I'm thinking of you as like an individual profit center, right?
Yeah, sure.
Like your whole bottleneck was that you had this large company to work for, and then they just kept putting bigger and bigger under you and moving you up under a giant corporation.
Yeah, basically.
That access to a giant corporation was what gave you the ability to show off those skills and thinking ability. Yeah,
100%. So I'm really, really fortunate and very, very lucky to have been given the opportunities. And so it's afforded me a really crazy life because it's afforded me the ability to travel and go to some of these companies. I consulted in Jamaica. I was over in Mauritius, Africa for 5 months. And like, it's all these little things that are like, hey, we've got a client, we need to send you in and go give us the lay of the land kind of thing, right? Fort Wayne, Indiana is a weird one. We bought a call center out there at one point and, got to go out there. But what I loved about that gig is it was right across the street from Sweetwater, which is like a big music dealer, a little shop out there. So I've been afforded these things through, as you said, like the large corporation.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, you got to deliver on it, right? Like you got to figure out how to do it. And none of that training comes from okay, here, we're going to teach you how to do this. It's been, hey, can you figure this out?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I mean, yes. No, and I'm not, if it came off like I was denying your talents
No,
at all.
no, you're good. You're good.
Yeah.
You're
No,
good.
it's talent, which obviously, if I'm talking to you, you got to be talented, or I should hope you're talented.
Right.
But then what is the opposite? If somebody, so, I mean, look, I'll just,
Yeah, go ahead. Transparency.
no, transparency, baby.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Do it.
My story is a weird and a long one, and I have yet to share it. And I'm not going to do that right here. But I really do feel that I have been a talent in search of a problem to solve.
Oh, sure.
And I have not had those that's, in a real way, this show
Yeah.
is me trying to dissect other people's success.
Yeah.
And say, how could I have plugged into something like that, right?
Yeah,
Like that's constantly, like, I have a real chip on my shoulder in sour grapes. And so I'm just always like, well, what? Because it sounds very similar.
Sure.
The way everybody says to you, well, gosh, your mind sure is different. And wow, you really see the big picture and the moving parts in a way that's really different from everybody else. Yeah, me too, right? So, but why are you where you are and why am I where I'm at?
Because I was looking for a problem to solve and not a way to apply my skills.
Tell me more about that.
What I specialize in is looking at something and going, yeah, that looks fine. Or looking at something else and going, actually, if this and this and this were fixed, I could save you $2 million.
Sure.
And so I'm looking for a problem to solve. I'm not approaching that going, well, where can I apply my skills? I'm not thinking that at all. I'm just like, hey, go tell me what your problems are. Like, what are you struggling with? What barriers can I remove for you? And then, so when you look for problems to solve, you start to find a lot of people who need help.
Yeah.
And from that, you can then go, okay.
And then you apply your skills.
What do I do?
Like all the problems you find, turns out your skill. So rather than finding a problem that fits your skill, you're looking for problems first. I guess.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly. I'm looking for problems first. Any problem. I don't care what it is. Any problem. And then what I can do from there is go, how would I solve this? Either through my skills, or how do I find somebody who has the skills I need to solve that problem, right? So it could be something like, well, I'll give you an example, right? So I'm not a photographer, but I need band photos, right? Well, I've got a problem that I need very good professional-looking band photos. Well, that problem didn't come from me saying, here's a skill that I can apply to my band. It was me going, I need this thing. As a business, I need this thing. How do I solve that through connections and networking and whatnot? And so I was able to find Danny Virchow. People of Fargo know him as Chow on a different station. And so I reached out to him, and he was getting into photography at the time. And I said, hey, would you do my band photos? And he did, and they're amazing. Fast forward years later, I hired him again for a new band. He comes out, does band photos, and he goes, hey, I'm actually on my way out of town to go shoot Corey Taylor's tour. And it turns out his photography skills were developed through solving that problem for other bands. And it turns out our band was the first band that ever gave him a shot at photographing them. So in a way, I was able to solve my problem through my network, and then he was able to build his business and his skill set because the problem came to him and said, hey, we need you, right? And that's the same kind of thing that we do in business. I approach it as not as what skills do I have, what problems can I find that fit in that. It's more like what problems do you need to solve, and then I'll go find those skills, or I'll acquire those skills, or find the right people to solve those skills. So that's really, it's about
sounds kind of more
that issue.
Sounds like selflessness.
A little
might
bit.
be the key.
Yeah.
Rather than looking inward to your own skills, abilities, and desires, you're looking outward into other people.
Yeah.
And saying, what's your problem?
Yeah, exactly. Well, think about, so let's shift into music a little bit, right? Listeners of your show may not know the theme song that you use for this. Yeah. I actually composed that. That's my work. I did that. I didn't come to you and say, hey, do you need a guitar player for your show? right?
yeah.
But my skill isn't guitar.
Yeah.
I said, hey, or actually, I think you came to me and said, hey, I need a theme song for my new show.
Because I had a problem for myself.
Right.
And I was thinking inward, so I got it solved by thinking inward.
Right.
So I'm
by identifying the problem.
Now I'm starting. You and I seem to be so similarly built. I'm going to focus on where are the differences. And it may be my intense flaming selfishness because I am a monster. Like I understand that, and so it might seem. I've always thought of my selfishness as a bit of a strength. I mean, I don't know.
Well, it is. You're confident.
Yeah, but it can also be a weakness in that it keeps you because I've learned enough, at least in sales. So I ended up having to go down like a sales route and apply that same mind. And I now sit in rooms of people and teach them how to very deliberately be a sociopath, right? Because that's the greatest sales skill that you can gain.
Is part of your sales, though, identifying the needs of your customer?
Yeah,
Or are you just forcing your product on them?
Well, it turns out, and the reason I got into real estate is because it is a solution to so many problems.
Right.
Because it's a special product where you get to have your cake and eat it too.
Sure.
The ability to borrow against real estate. So like my analysis is always from like a financial technical analysis of like the ability to leverage properties and it's very surface level, but all of that. But am I looking for problems to solve, or am I just applying my skills? I think I'm just applying my skills.
Did you have real estate skills before you got into real estate?
Yeah. Now we're interviewing me, huh?
Yeah.
I had used real estate as a way to. So I was a victim of real estate fraud. Where
oh right, I remember that.
Yeah, so that's my origin story.
Right.
Is that I had to gut. So you and I have a very similar path in that. So I was at Have you ever heard of IMS in town here?
I have not.
Ooh boy, that's for another time and not on the public airwaves. But they were an online reseller. And they had a website, and then they had Amazon and eBay. And the job that I ended up landing in, because I have worthless degrees, and that's a whole other story, ended up being basically data entry, where I was just copying from one place and pasting into another.
Sure.
And I wanted to die. And so rather than do that, I taught myself SQL.
Good point.
Because I was like, let's rip it out of here and throw it over there all at once. And just like you, before I knew it, I had 60 people under me and things were going very well.
Yeah.
Problem is that then at that point I became a victim of real estate fraud. And it was either declare bankruptcy or fix it with my own two hands. I took the less good route and fixed it with my own two hands. Yeah. Had 7 years without a job. Right. And so then where do you go and what do you do? Real estate. Right. And so I guess does that answer the question of?
I think so. So like I think the most successful people are the ones who can identify a problem. Then they go and solve it, and regardless of their skill set, right? Just like you had a problem, you've got your home that you need to fix, right? So you chose to learn the skills to solve that problem, right? That's not different than what I do in consulting or in analysis or process analysis. Like it's not different. All we're doing is identifying problems. You identified your own problem, or identifying someone else's problem and need, right? And I think the most successful businesses are set up, we've identified a problem in the market or a problem that people need solving, and then produce a solution for it. And that's the way it always should be. It doesn't matter if it's in your skill set or not, if your skill set is problem solving.
Well, and so this is the premise of the show, and it's not always the case that I'm eyeing enviously what the other person does, right? But what I always end up saying is, so now we're getting back on track of the show. If I wanted to end up where you are at, which I coincidentally do, but if I wanted to, how is it that I get there? Because I'm not going to get the consulting gig at Humana, right? Because you needed a guy to do that.
Yeah.
And so I'm always trying to focus on what's the moving part So what's the moving part that would get you Humana? Well, you needed to have worked with somebody who would have brought you in,
Yeah,
right? So
but-
then what's the moving part that you worked with that guy?
But you're looking at 25 years down the road, right?
Yeah,
so
yeah.
so you're
Yeah,
you're talking
yeah.
about like how do I get
Yeah.
to 25 years?
Yeah.
And the answer to that question is, well, yeah, my most immediate thing is referral, right?
Yes, yeah.
But
And so peel the onion, and so back from there.
So if you go backwards, it was about first up, I just got a job with like, because that was it was not the problem I was trying to solve there was like I need rent and food.
Yes. but I guess in what I had identified.
Yeah.
And that's what I said, and that's kind of how we went all the way around, which is fine. I hope you're fine with that. I'm fine with this. This is the show. I love it.
It's your show, man.
I'm enjoying this. I hope you are too.
Yeah.
What I identified, because imagine if instead of having worked for that call center that had 50,000 employees, you would end up working and just getting a job at McDonald's.
So, great question.
Some franchise or
So
something.
check this out. I got, when biztravel.com, which is that travel website, went under, actually skipped a little portion there. I got furloughed for 2 months.
Okay.
And so I was laid off, no job. It's Dickinson in the early 2000s. Where am I even going to work?
Yes.
And so I got a job at Hardware Hank.
Yes.
I know nothing about hardware. And so they're like, well, we need somebody to run like our plumbing department. I know nothing about plumbing.
Yeah.
I know absolutely nothing about it. So I just kind of sat down and I looked at like the plumbing section, if you will, and I started walking through it and just walking up to people like, what can I help you with, right? Like, what's your problem? And they're like, oh, I'm trying to do XYZ. Well, I don't know how to do XYZ either, but it sounds like you're trying to do blah, blah, blah. Did I get that right? Yeah. Okay, cool. And then I'll go, one moment. And then I would go ask someone else if they knew anything about that problem.
Yeah.
And like in store, I'd be like, you know anything about the problem? Okay, cool. Come back and go, I think what you need is this, this, and this, right? And then I sat down and said, well, I don't know anything about what any of these parts do. I guess I better learn what these parts do. And like, what's a P-trap for? And like, when we use that instead of, a U or something like,
sure.
What any of those things are.
Yeah.
And so, and how is the store organized? Like, what's the plano of like where these parts are? How do I easily find something? If somebody knows what they're looking for, how do I know where that's at? I'm not going to memorize the whole section. I got to know the system behind it. So, over a month, I ended up just going through the entire system, learning all of that, learning how everything was organized. And by the end of that month, I was in charge of reordering everything, in charge of like everything under the sun. I sought out training, like actual plumbing training to understand what the average homeowner is looking for in a hardware store. I wouldn't be able to talk to a plumber about it, but like all that stuff. So it was, again, I just needed a job. And I found myself in a situation where I didn't know anything about. And my approach to that was, I need to know everything about it. I need to know why this is in place. I need to know what people are looking for. I need to know all that kind of thing. And so through learning that, I learned, well, what does the average person come in for? Normally they're trying to like throw a wax ring on a toilet, or like they've got a leak in their sink, or they've got a cracked trap or something like that, or they've got a plugged trap. How do they even do that kind of thing? And so if you, so this is kind of what we do with data analysis. We take the macro, all of the possible problems, and boil those down to the likely problems, and then see if we can figure out how to solve for those things. And that's what I learned first, right? That's how I prioritize it.
Yeah.
And so I think anybody, anywhere, in any job, not you, because you haven't had a job in
15 years.
15 years.
I mean, that's my problem. Maybe I need
But
to
I think...
that's a great example of, because if you had stayed at Hardware's Hank, you would have had a ceiling.
Yeah.
Right?
Well,
so there was another how that happened.
Yeah.
There was another how that happened. There was some other hinge point that happened where you went back to the call center.
I did.
Because the furlough was only temporary.
Yeah, because the furlough was temporary, So I ended up going back to the call center. But yeah, I don't know if I would probably be owning hardware stores at this point. Like,
you think? Yeah,
I think so. I don't know that the ceiling was just wallow away in the plumbing section. I think it was much more than that, because... You keep expanding, right? Like you expand your knowledge and you expand to learn.
But would you
things.
have just expanded with whatever's in front of you, or would you
Probably
have eventually found your way out and into something else?
No,
right?
I would. Well, so define in front of you.
Yeah.
Like, do you mean by within the hardware space, or do you mean by like everything? I'm a firm believer in cross skill utilization. So like, I think the things that I learned at the call center through like customer service and talking to people applied directly to working with people face to face in a hardware store, right? And I think that the system of organization that I learned through the hardware store helps me organize process now, because I think about it now as in like, well, how is our data organized, right? And it's the same thing, columns and rows, but it's just physical columns.
It's a different way of thinking, really.
Yeah.
Like you either you think like a spreadsheet or you don't. It's like there's.
Yeah, then you get into graph databases and it's nothing like a spreadsheet, right?
Yeah.
So there's all kinds of stuff out there that's like, I'm always trying to figure out what is the cool thing about this thing. I think everybody, that's why you have the show, right? What's the cool thing about your guests? So like, I look at that as the world around me. What's the cool thing about this thing in the world? Like, I think this is super cool, right? Like, I want to know more of like, I wouldn't know how to like stream and do all this kind of stuff because I don't do this. I'm not in this world, right? But I'm interested to know it. I know the technical of the microphones and things like that I've learned through music, but I don't know.
See,
how do I do a radio show? I don't know how to do
my
that.
interest is so much more narrow and selfish, and I loathe to admit it, but you're an obvious example of the value and the power of that, because I too would be interested in the show, but only on the moving parts that lead directly to my desires and interests.
Sure.
Right? Like I too had a problem of I need to know more people, but I'm antisocial. I know I could have a radio show where I bring people on. Like
that's clever.
I'm not shy about it.
Yeah.
The reason I started a radio show was not for the people listening, but for the guests, so that I could spend an hour talking to them. And now I know you, and now our relationship is that much bigger and that much richer.
Sure.
And so now you know, like, and trust me that much more, and I'm just a little bit more likely to sell a house for you or somebody you know. Like that's literally like because I had the problem of my wife is pregnant. I don't have a job. We have the cleaning company. Everything sucks. I don't know. I know a lot about real estate.
Yeah.
Oh no, the moving part on real estate is how many people like you. Like that's it. It's it. Your technical abilities in real estate have almost zero return on your success in real estate. Like people everybody's got a mother, brother, best friend, or cousin.
Yeah.
And they just go with who they like most recently. And like, so that was the moving part on that.
That's true. My realtor is the vocalist of my old band.
Everything else is periphery. Everything else is around the edges, and so I'm not interested in those because they're not directly related to my problem solving.
Yeah.
Whereas your approach is to say, wow, everything's so neat. I wonder how every single piece works, regardless of whether it directly benefits me or not.
Well, it's curiosity.
And that's Well, I'm curious.
It's so
but
when I was a kid,
first.
when I was a kid growing up, my dad used to ask us like just random questions, and they seemed so weird to other people, but to me, it was just like the way that we grew up. My dad was in the oil business. He was a directional driller back in the day in the 80s, right? And so he would just ask us, like, I guess, physics and engineering questions, but, like, dumbed down to a 9-year-old could understand it. And one of the best examples is he asked us, oh, man, I was probably 9 or 10 years old. And he goes, I've been thinking about heat. And why is it that you can always make something hotter, but you can only make it so cold? Like, why is that?
What was the answer to that?
And I remember thinking, like, well, I don't know. Like, you could, I don't understand. He goes, well, think about what heat is, right? So you can always add heat to things, but what your definition of cold is the absence of heat. So there's only so much heat you can take away, but you can always add additional heat, right? And heat is energy, and we know that now. And, as an adult, I understand the physics behind that. But as a kid, it was more about, like, how do I think critically about this question, and how do I understand what those definitions are within that question and the world kind of around us, right? So that led me to learn about, like, what absolute zero was and, like, all of that kind of thing as a 9-year-old kid. And Dad would just ask us random questions like that all the time because he was just wondering about the world. And so I guess I picked up that, like, wonder. Like, everything around us is incredible. It's amazing. And so, like, I walk down the street and I think about, like, the process to laying, like, road construction fascinates me, right? Like, how do you get these layers perfect and flat and smooth, and then like you can drive at them at 80 miles an hour, thousands of cars, and like it doesn't wear at all, or it wears very slowly, and then just enough to where you can patch it. Asphalt is an incredible technology compared to like scoria or like a dirt road or something like that. How did we even get to that? And then so like I'm interested in that, and I'm constantly asking those types of questions, and then that leads me to research, and oftentimes it's like some rabbit hole that I go down, but then I'd like to think that I can come up with interesting questions to ask about the world, and then that leads that part of that cross utilization of skill is like that curiosity of the mechanics of how things work and the history and the definitions, like finding the definitions of a problem, that carries over into everything else. It carries over into music, that carries over into business, that carries over into data, absolutely everything. And it's really just about, can we define these things? Do we really understand what those definitions mean? And then how can we know more about it?
And I think that that's a mindset and a skill and a natural talent that has led to a lot of success for you. I don't know that it leads to a lot of success for everyone.
Probably not.
I would say, if like, so it's getting to be, we've been here 47 minutes now, and I'm dissecting your moving parts.
Yeah.
You have a kind of outward wonder and gratitude, and almost a gratitude. Like
100%.
There's not, you're not afraid. Yeah, you don't strike me as having some kind of a deep, it's going to be taken away from me, so I need to like fix for me now.
No.
And it's more just a calm, almost Zen-like, just like, well, what is this and what is that? And applying, that skill in a peaceful way with a lot of gratitude and a lot of outward focused rather than just inward.
Yeah, I've learned to be really comfortable about being uncomfortable about something, you know? And that sounds really cliche and strange, but it really is. I would rather not know something and then go want to find out than like, once I know the thing, I'm like, yeah, whatever, I'm done with it, and like move on. The thing that drives me crazy is staying still in one place.
Sure.
And this applies to work too. And I'm so thankful that my current leader understands that, because like once we get into the like just checking the box every week kind of thing, I'm out skis, man. I don't want to do that. I'll give it to somebody else like that just wants to show up and get a paycheck. They can do that. I gotta go solve something, and I treat that the same way in music. So I'd like to shift, if we can, to a little bit of the music
we've
aspect.
Got like 5 minutes. Please tell me all about music. I'm sorry.
So I did your theme, right?
Yeah.
But like that was really a departure from anything that I had done before. If people check out like Chaos and Question, that was more of like a hard rock band, and prior to that I was in a bunch of metal bands and things like that. That's really where I cut my teeth. But I think music is so interesting because there's an infinite width to music. It can go any way possible. Currently, I'm working on an electronic dance album. Never done it before. Never done it. But like, I'm having a lot of fun exploring how all of these weird noises are fit together and can serve some of those different functions in music, right? Like, so it's kind of like that picking apart and going through all of that kind of stuff. And I think that I think everything around us is incredible. We live in this amazing world where it's full of mystery. And this is, I think Neil deGrasse Tyson said one time that like you don't need to make things up, and like he doesn't get into fantasy and things like that. I do. I love fantasy. But like you don't need to make things up to make the world more interesting, because the world is already super interesting. You just have to like go find something cool and go do it, right? And like, so for me, music is a lot like that. It's always about the exploration. It's always about like how these things work and how it makes me feel and how it makes other people react and feel. Like sometimes when we're writing, like I'll go back to Chaos and Question. Again, this is an old band. This band hasn't been around for like 10 years, but you go back to that. And I remember writing some of those songs going, okay, hold on. I want this chorus to be like an really big anthem. And so let's imagine ourselves on the stage what do we want the crowd to be singing back at us right now? Do we want them to be like pumping their fist? Do we want it to be like open and like, yelling back the lyrics? Or like, how do we want the crowd to react? And then how do we create that as part of the expression of the music? And so it's more of like, how do these things work? How do these things make people feel and react and move? And that's, again, another puzzle, but it's an infinite one. And so I really like exploring that.
Different genres?
Yeah.
Okay. And that's, are you usually the principal member in your band, or?
Yeah, usually. So my current band is Save Me CJ. We're a cover band. We do mostly 90s and 2000s stuff. You can catch us soon at Unhinged in West Fargo.
We'll do plugs at the end.
Yeah, all right. I just don't want to miss an opportunity.
Yeah, no.
So yeah, and we're like a 90s, 2000s cover band, and but that's different. Like what we're doing now is different than what we were doing 10 years ago in that band. We were mostly doing like late 80s, early 90s grunge kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And that's different than what we did previously. And other cover bands were about like doing the variety thing, like we got to hit, some country and some whatever, all that kind of stuff. And then it was, hard rock, and then it was metal, and now I'm into EDM. And like, it's always just, for me, it's about exploration.
Yeah.
It's about not getting bored with things because there's always something new to learn or grow or whatever that is. So that's kind of just how I live my life, is how can I learn more and do more stuff? I want to live life, not just like try to find my place in life.
You want to live, not merely survive.
Well, yeah, that's a good way to put it. Yeah.
Well, I didn't say that.
Yeah.
That's Sinatra right there.
Yeah, but I guess I'm not trying to find a hole that I fit into. I'm trying to find out like what is the world that's out there.
Yeah, I wonder that probably a lot of that comes back to your childhood and the way your father was able to make an opportunity for curiosity's sake to be worthwhile and give you that stability.
Yeah, I think John Cleese talked a little bit about creativity, like what is creativity, in one of his speeches. And he talked about, I think the difference between creative and non-creative is creative people will generally allow themselves longer to play with the idea. Yeah. And I think that speaks to me on a really deep level, because it's all about like, that's what all that Monty Python stuff was about, right? It's all about exploring the silly, like hitting each other with a mackerel, right? Like what does that really do? It just makes me laugh because it's something that's silly and unexpected, but somebody didn't just sit down and go like, I think the market thinks that if I hit you with a fish, it will be very funny. They weren't. They were just like toying around with these ideas.
It's a place of exploration.
Exactly. It's exploration. So I think you can apply that pretty much to everywhere that you go and everything that you do and everything that you see around you. We drive cars every single day of our life. Do you know how a car works? I don't. I have a vague idea of how some parts of a car work, but like, how does your door latch? You ever think about that? Like, I'm not even talking about like the engine and things like that. Like, how does that latching mechanism work? There's all kinds of these really crazy things. You have more processing power in your phone than what it took to land on the moon. Yeah. And we use it to like argue with people and look at cats on the internet, It's a crazy, we're surrounded by all this really interesting things, this huge, beautiful world. And I've been fortunate enough to travel most of it and see a lot of it, Not even most of it, I guess a lot of it, I should say.
Would you like to hear whenever I take a break, my intermission music?
Yeah, let's hear it.
You recognize this?
Yeah, this is the intermission song. Let's all go to the lobby.
No, this is from Monty Python.
Oh, yes, it is.
I would have figured you were the one. Yeah, that's
man.
That's always my
No, you're right. That is.
Well, I know it is because I googled Monty Python intermission music. Anytime I have to take a break or go to the bathroom, that's what I play.
But that's a fun, silly thing,
It's a silly thing. Let's just stop right here and have an intermission right at the end of the movie.
Yeah, it's perfect.
right in the last
now
two.
For something completely different.
Yes, the song that you wanted to listen to get out of here is Tomorrow's Sorrow.
Yeah. This is the opening track on that album we released back in 2012. Got a ton of radio play back then. It's pretty popular overseas, I guess. We got a ton of downloads from Moscow. Actually, it was the number one place that song got downloaded, which is Cool. I guess we're popular in Moscow. Didn't do so good in Fargo, but we're pretty popular in Moscow. But yeah, so this is a song that kind of means quite a bit for us, and it was it's the opening track on that album.
Okay, and we'll listen to that on the way out. And now it is time for plugs. So before you get out of here,
yeah,
please.
the biggest thing is please, if you're interested in live music, just go see a band. It doesn't even have to be my band. Just go see live music, because that's a unique experience that you can't get sitting on your phone watching TikTok or Instagram. Yeah. Go see live music. Support local artists. It's really, really hyper important to think about. Like, all of those songs that you hear on Instagram and TikTok, those are created by an artist somewhere. Go see local art. Yeah. Go support it. Yeah. My band is playing at Unhinged soon.
Where's Unhinged?
Unhinged is in West Fargo. It's in the Eagle Run complex there on Cheyenne. It's a pretty new bar.
It's a bar. Okay.
Yeah. It's one of the. It's the old building of Hooligans.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, before they moved. Unhinged is now in there. So we're playing there, and then come see us at the fair. We're playing the Beer Gardens and the Gates on Rock Night, which is Stone Temple Pilots, Candlebox, and Pop Evil will be playing there as well.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a heck of a lineup.
It's going to be fun.
I bet you get to meet all kinds of...
Man, we didn't even talk about any of that stuff.
I know.
Like at our CD release party we had 12 Stones and Digital Summer, and then I've been able to play with Buck Cherry and Smash Mouth and all these really cool bands. We didn't even get time to talk about all that stuff.
Oh my goodness! Well,
talking about business.
I've very rarely had a person on a second time, but you may actually be worthy of coming on just to talk about music.
I appreciate that.
Of course, I'm Conrad Fargo. You can find me anywhere you type in Conrad and Fargo. If you type the names in separately, you won't get anything. Okay, if you
type in Conrad, you should have went with Con Radio.
Con Radio, that opportunity lost.
Yeah.
But because I'm trying to funnel people to ConradFargo.com, which tells you that I sell real estate.
Sure.
You see, I'm very narrowly focused and just pushing on that so hard.
Yeah.
Which is my biggest mistake, and I'm learning that. I'm learning that 1 hour at a time here. So, but you can find me if you type in both words together. You get Conrad Fargo. I show up. Please do like, share, and subscribe. I am very selfish, and I need that validation that I am worthy. And if nobody likes, shares, and subscribes, I don't know that I am worthy. So I need that. Please, to
you need
me.
the metric.
Please, I need it so that so I know anybody loves me. So we're going to listen to Your Chaos and Question, Tomorrow's Sorrow. And thank you so much for coming. It was really, really neat.
This is fun.
It was a little bit too much about me, but I'm jealous of you. I've admired you from afar. I don't know if you know that.
I appreciate that.
I've
I
admired
did not
you from
know
afar
that.
for a long time.
I did
very
not know
jealous of how amazing you are. So thank you for
so
coming.
much, man.
Thank you everybody for listening. We'll see you next week. Goodbye.